For this skull pattern, you're going to need a 4-weight yarn in your choice of color, your G-hook, a tapestry needle for sewing in your edges, and optional is a stitch marker or a small scrap of yarn in a different color. If you're advanced enough, then you don't really need it. I just find it a little easier to locate my first stitch of the round when I come back around after the end of it. So let's get started on this. Now, I've stated previously in other videos that you do not need to follow the edging pattern that I did for a different hat. I had done a rib pattern. This one, then I just did my chains and a row of single crochets over it. You could do this too, and if you want to add an edging to it after you finish, then you just turn it around and do an edging right there along those top stitches. Now that's entirely optional. I've also done a knitted ribbing, though this one I found that when you finish off, if you're going to make a band, knit it and you finish it off, then do so loosely, otherwise that's not going to stretch as much as everything else does. So this I can make for my niece since she has a smaller head, but for me, then I would have to finish off a lot more loosely than that. That one I had used a 16-inch round size 8 knitting needles, and I had done the same 80 count that I do with my crocheting. I did it in a rib pattern, so it's a knit, purl all the way around. So, as I've said before, you can do your rim of your hat absolutely any way you choose. It does not have to be the same pattern that I've used. But for this video's sake, then I'll go ahead and show the crocheted knit pattern. I'm sorry, the crocheted rib pattern. So for those who are new to crocheting, I'm going to go ahead and do some of the beginner instructions. Now for beginners, you know how if you take a string like this and you simply tie it this way, you get that knot right there. That's almost what you do for a slip knot. The only difference is instead of doing the short end going through, then you're going to turn it around and do the long end. Now you don't have to look up all these fancy ways that people do this and turn it over. All you gotta do is just tie it like you're tying your shoelace, and this strand gets caught in it, and that's your loop that goes on your hook. Simple. So you do your slip knot, put it on your hook, yarn over, that's your first chain. Now for my size, then I chain 80. Now remember this pattern, it has to be in multiples of 8. You can alternate your size by the size of hook you use. If you find that a G hook with 80 is just slightly too large for you, then you can cut down your hook to a size F. If you find that the 80 count with the G-hook is quite a bit too large for you, then you can cut down to your G-hook with a 72 count chain. Or if it's too small, just slightly, then you can cut up to a size H hook, or you keep your G and do an 88 count. Like I said, it's all your sizing, so find whatever is best for you. For me is a G hook with an 80 count, so that's what I'm going to do. And I have my first. It's 2, 3, 4, 5. Now remember, when you make the chain, you do not want to chain it as tightly as possible. You want to go ahead and leave it just that little bit loose so that you can work into it. And you continue that up to 80. Okay, and that's my 80 count, and I wrapped it around my head just to double check that it is going to fit properly. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the very first chain. For your beginners, then you're going to hold it like this. You have the flat end against your thumb. Bring it down, make sure that it's not twisting. Make sure that flat end stays against your thumb. And all the way down to the knot. And that chain right there, that very first chain just under the knot, you're going to slip your hook in through the flat end. Then you're going to grab your working yarn, loop over, pull through that one, and the one that's on the hook. And that's going to give the flat end on the outside, and that's what you're going to be working with. Now, for the ribbing pattern, you're going to start off with double crochets. So you're going to chain 3 for your first double. Then you're going to yarn over. Just so you can see this more clearly. Your chain is coming out of this one right here. So you're going to move over to this next one. And put a double crochet in there. Now, depending on what you want to do with your edging, you can either make sure you're working so you have one strand at the bottom, or if you want that it's a kind of different look at the edging down there, then you can just grab the top strand and that will give you that kind of V look around the edging of your bottom. But I like working in 2 strands. Makes me feel like it's more secure. So that's what I'm going to do. And you're going to put double crochets through every chain all the way around. And when you come back around, you're going to want to count, starting with your chain 3, count each one and make sure you have the same number of double crochets as you did chains. And also, just to let you know that I am working over this tail so that I'm not going to have to go back and work that one in with my needle. So this just makes it a little quicker, a little easier. Okay, got all the double crochets done. Now I'm back to my chain 3. That's 1, 2, 3. Gonna go into that 3rd chain and slip stitch in there. And that's the base for our ribbing pattern done. And for the beginners, you're going to chain 3, and that chain 3 is going to count for this chain 3 below it, so you're not going to work with that one. You're going to go over to the next one. I like to consider my chain ups as the front post, so now I'm going to do a back post. Now they're called front post and back post because you're not going into the stitches, you're going to go around the posts. So I'm going to come behind this next post, up between those two, around the front of that one post, come out the back, grab some yarn, pull it through so that that yarn is hugging that post, and then I'm going to do a double crochet from there. Okay, I'm going to yarn over. The next is going to be a front post, so I'm going to come through the front of it between those two, pull that one forward, yarn over and pull through, so that's pushing it forward from the back, and double crochet that. And you're going to be alternating between those two all the way around, which is why you need an even number for this, otherwise you're going to end up with the 2 front posts or 2 back posts next to each other, and it's going to look a little funky. So you just keep going all the way around. And you see how that's showing? These front posts stick forward while the back posts go towards the back. And this is going to kind of gently scrunch this up a little bit, so that it's going to give you a bit more of a stretch, just a little bit more than usual, not too much. So just keep going all the way around, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to slip into the top of that chain 3. And this is optional, but I'm going to go ahead and chain 3 again, and do one more time around in the rib pattern. So you chain 3, that's the top of your chain 3 that you slipped into, and the next one was a back post, so you're going to go ahead and back post that one again. And front post your previous front post, keeping with that rib pattern, and you just keep doing that all the way around. As I said, this next time around is optional. If you want to leave it at this height of a band, that's up to you. I'm going with this height, so, and just keep going. Okay, finish the rib pattern. Now we can go into the skulls. For the beginning of the skull, you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you're going to yarn over, and where your chain is coming out of, that stitch that you slipped into, you're going to put a double crochet into that same one. Now you're going to put a double crochet into the next 3 stitches. and you're going to chain 4 and slip stitch into the same stitch as your last double crochet. And that gives you the first teeth and jaw bones. Now you're going to slip stitch over 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this takes up the first 8. Now I'm going to slip stitch over one more time, so you'll have a total of 5 slip stitch overs. And from there I'm going to start my next jawbone. So that's chaining 4, double crochet into the same stitch, double crochet into the next 3, chain 4, slip stitch into the same as your last double crochet, and then slip stitch over 5 stitches. And you'll start that pattern again, and you're going to do that all the way around. Since I have 80 stitches, then that's going to give me 10 of these jawbones. Okay, I slip stitch my last chain 4. I'm going to go over, slipping 1, 2, 3, 4, and over into where this chain is at, and that's the 5th, and that brings me back to my first set of teeth. Now I'm going to loosely slip up into this chain space, and then I'm going to loosely chain 1 just so it's kind of even with this chain, because I don't want that jawbone too thick compared to the others. Now I'm going to do a single crochet in the same space, and that is where I'm going to use my stitch marker. So if you have your LJ, thank you. If you have your stitch marker, you can put it there. And I'm going to put a second single crochet into the same chain space. Now I'm going to put a single crochet into the top of this first double crochet. Chain 2. And then I'm going to come over to the top of this last double crochet and put a single there, and then 2 singles into the chain space, and I'm going to chain 2 and do the same pattern over here. So that's 2 singles in the chain space, 1 at the top of the first double crochet, and chain 2, one at the top of the last double crochet, 2 in the chain space, and chain 2. And that brings the jawbone out away from the teeth, makes it a little more prominent. So let's do that again. Two single, one single, chain 2, one single, 2 singles, chain 2. And you're going to do that all the way around. Okay, and now I can go into that first single crochet marked by my stitch marker just to make it easier to find. Slip stitch into there. Now I'm going to chain 5. So chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to double crochet into this chain 2 space. And now I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to single crochet into this last single crochet from the previous round. And I just want to let you know that this chain 5 here is the absolutely only chain 5 you're going to do for the entire round. The reason for that is that the first chain actually counts as the single crochet that you do for your chain 4s. So that just makes this eye even with this one. Now another way you can do that is to, if you want to keep with your chain 4 so you don't get confused, then after you slip stitch into there, you can either chain 1 or you can go right into just a single crochet into that same space, and that will bring you up to be even with your other eyes. That's entirely up to you. And then from there, you see how it comes up a little bit more right there. It has that little bit of height to it. So then from there you can chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're double crochet into the chain 2 space, and then chain 4, and then your single crochet into that last single crochet of the previous round. So however you want to do that, then that's entirely up to you. Whatever's easier for you. Then 2 single crochets around that chain 2 space. And into the next skull, this first single crochet here, put a single crochet into that stitch, chain 4, double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 4, single crochet into the last single crochet, and 2 singles around the chain 2 space. Okay, and you're just going to do that all the way around for the rest of the skulls. Okay, and I'm back around, and because I used that single crochet right there rather than just my regular chain up, then that's going to give me an extra slip stitch I need to do. So I'm going to slip into that single crochet, as opposed to if you do the chain up, then you just automatically slip into that large chain space. So slip into there. Now I'm going to do a single crochet and 4 half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I mirror that on this other eye, so 4 half doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4, a single crochet, and a slip stitch just to keep that corner kind of tight. Then I'm going to slip stitch over through these single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and now into this eye, that slip stitch. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did with the previous one. So you can see that skull now. That's a 1 single crochet and 4 half doubles. And then mirroring it, 4 half doubles, a single, and a slip. Now slipping over, 1, 2, 3, and then into the next eye with the slip stitch. And you're going to do that all the way around. Until you get back to over here.